Welcome to the very first episode of the Noah Casala Show. I'm really excited to bring to you guys this new format of show, which is going to be kind of talking head podcast style, not as serious, not as edited, not as kind of perfect or whatever you want to call it, which is hard. It's hard for me to do this because I kind of find myself in that perfectionism mindset where it's like everything has to be perfect. It has to be edited perfect. I can't mess up. I can't stumble, which I've got to let go. And I'm letting it go right here, right now. So you might hear me fumble. You might hear me mess some things up, especially with the first episodes. I plan on getting better. I plan on improving. That being said, in the show, I hope to bring like really great ideas, really great concepts to you guys, maybe bring on really cool guests that hopefully will help you along your journey, whether that is for health and wellness, weight loss, improving your nutrition, all those fun things. But it might also be like business stuff or content, anything that I'm fascinated with, I hope to bring to you, and I hope our interests align and you guys enjoy the show. So that being said, today's episode specifically is going to be on leveling up your nutrition for 2025. I think there's three things that we can talk about during this period of time, which is going to be the self-monitoring equals self-awareness. We'll get into that. The kind of three core principles, whether you're trying to lose weight, build muscle, improve your lifts at the gym, improve your run times, improve your feelings, improve your relationships, improve your performance at work, whatever it might be. Like, what are the three core things from a nutritionist standpoint you need to focus on? And then finally, how to improve your overall nutrient intake as you are leveling up your nutrition for 2025. Okay, so let's dive into it. Self-monitoring equals self-awareness. So self-monitoring, let's quickly describe this concept, right? Self-monitoring, you're monitoring yourself. You're looking at I think the best example here is like balancing your checkbook, right? You want to save more money. You're getting ready to buy a house. You start going through your purchases and what you're buying, your subscriptions. You're like, ooh, do I really need that right now? No. Do I really need to be spending money here? No. Do I need to be writing a check for so-and-so? No. So, right, you can kind of go through and be like, oh, I'm becoming more self-aware with my finances, and I am starting to balance that checkbook a little bit more so I can save a little bit more money so I can buy that house, right? That's the best kind of analogy that I can describe here. That being said, when we look at this for ourselves, we can do it in several different areas. So, right, we can track our nutrition via like MyFitnessPal. I personally use Chronometer, but I think everyone else is really familiar with MyFitnessPal. Love Chronometer. That's hands down my favorite tracking tool. But we can track our nutrition. We can also track our sleep. We can track our workouts. We can track our progress. All of these pieces are going to bring more self-awareness, right? More self-awareness is then going to be you're going to be able to make better decisions, right? On a day-to-day basis based on all these data points you've picked up, right? You're like, okay, cool. For example, you're tracking your nutrition. You're doing, you're logging your food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You're noticing, holy smokes, I'm eating 2,600 calories. And then you're trying to measure and track your progress. And you're like, oh, maybe I'm not seeing the weight loss that I want to see here. Or I'm not seeing the body composition changes that I want to see here. And so you then can take that and say, okay, now I have the self-awareness here. I'm eating 2,600 calories. I'm not getting to where I want to go. Maybe I can dial back those calories a little bit. And see that progress on the scale that I'm not seeing otherwise. So, this idea of self-monitoring and bringing self-awareness, right? So leveling up your nutrition for 2025, I think a really good tool or tactic you can use is trying to figure out ways that you can bring more self-awareness, more self-accountability, and you can therefore then make better decisions in the long term for those health benefits or whatever you're trying to look for. And I'll give you a few examples here. So when there's one thing back this past year over 2024 that I started doing, which I really hadn't done before, which was really starting to track my workouts and self-monitor my workouts. Before, I was that kind of person where I was like, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm just going to tear it up. I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to just really, foot to the gas pedal all the way to the floorboard, right? Just 100 miles an hour, red line in that thing. And what I noticed was like, I just kept going through this cycle, right? Before 2024, where I'd have 2, 3, 4 weeks where I'd just really get after it. But then I'd almost burn myself out. And then I'd recover from that burnout. And then I'd try and do it again. And it's just I never got progress. I never got any further than where I was at before the last year, or the last year before that, or the last year before that. So in light of that, I started tracking my workouts. I started paying attention to, hey, am I able to lift one more rep? Am I able to lift a little bit more weight? And kind of incrementally starting to track that, I started to notice some really great progress. And I also became more self-aware of like, ooh, I'm starting to burn out a little bit, right? I started to become self-aware of like, okay, if I do 8 weeks of this aspect of where I'm tracking my workouts, I'm adding an extra rep, I'm adding a little bit of weight every single workout, I'm trying to get a little bit better. If I, compound on that week after week after week, after 8 weeks, 10 weeks of that, I'm starting to get a little bit tired. My motivation for the gym starts to wane, right? That then cued me to start doing like deload weeks where I would take some time off from the gym, or I would at least dial it back where I wasn't going as hard during that period of time. And so, right, I kind of get up to a point and then I'd, let it settle for a minute, and then I can climb up and go up from that point again. So I saw so much more progress in this idea of self-monitoring, right? Tracking my workouts and monitoring those, and then being able to kind of adjust accordingly depending on where I was at, whether, I was feeling really fired up and motivated to go to the gym, or, I really wasn't. And, kind of using some of these cues to kind of implement other strategies and tactics, which then evolved into kind of me being able to really progress and see some serious gains in the gym, whether it was strength gains or physique gains and putting on some size. So I think that this could apply to other areas as well. This idea of self-awareness and self-monitoring. For instance, like your sleep, right? Starting to track sleep and making sure that you're getting that 7 to 9 hours. So one thing I was noticing, like playing video games, I really love playing video games. I love, Call of Duty and all that fun stuff. And so in this example here, I was, kind of playing video games up until I went to bed, and knowing that's probably not the best thing for me. Once I started tracking my sleep, I was like, holy smokes, like it takes me a lot longer to go to bed after I play video games. I'm all hyped up and looking at blue light, and yeah, it just wasn't that beneficial to my sleeping patterns and really made it difficult to fall asleep. Then I was still trying to get up early, and it was like I was getting into this vicious cycle of like, okay, I'm getting up early, I'm not getting to bed as early as I need to, and then I'm trying to supplement with caffeine, drinking a whole pot of coffee before trying to work, and and it just kind of led into this vicious cycle, and it affected other areas of my life too. So as you're kind of going into this leveling up for 2025, one of my big cues for you is, trying to track these little pieces. It doesn't have to be all of them. Like, you don't have to do your workouts, track your workouts, and track your sleep, and track your nutrition. I'd start with just one and then build on that from there. If I were to kind of point you in a direction, it would be starting with tracking your nutrition. I think you can get pretty far, and it can actually bring a lot of self-awareness and honestly, nutrition education, right? You're like, holy smokes, like eating those, Oreos, like, holy smokes, there's a ton of fat in those. And if I eat a whole sleeve of them, I'm getting so many calories, right? Not talking from experience or anything. So, when I'm thinking about this and trying to encourage this leveling up aspect, it's like, trying to become more self-aware, whatever that means to you, whether it is like tracking your workouts, tracking your sleep, tracking your mood, or maybe just tracking your weight and seeing like, hey, starting from there, that's a pretty easy one. You just hop on the scale, you look at it, you're like, okay, cool. Yesterday I ate a boatload, and that was also representative on the scale, right? You can then kind of make changes based on that data point as well. So that's going to be our first topic for 2025, which is leveling up our nutrition, is self-monitoring, right? Just trying to create more self-awareness around the habits and behaviors that you have at this point. Okay, so then let's move on to the next section, which is leveling up, and looking at kind of the 3 core principles. Like, if there was 3 things to focus on, what I would start with focusing on, especially if you're like trying to control even if you're trying to lose weight or if you're trying to build muscle, like calories, protein, and fiber, like those 3 things, if you focus on those 3 aspects, they are going to take you so far, right? Kind of from a foundational standpoint, right? If your calories are in check when you're trying to lose weight and you're eating a calorie deficit, all else doesn't really matter, right? Of course, there's other factors that are going to play into this, right? If you eat only Cheetos and you're in a calorie deficit, how long are you going to be able to maintain that calorie deficit only on Cheetos? Probably not very long, because you're going to be starving. Those Cheetos aren't going to be very satiating. But you wrap in some chicken breasts and you put in some vegetables and you do a nice, high fiber carbohydrate in there, right? That's going to then support that calorie deficit that you have going on as well. So I think calories are going to be number one. If you focus on calories, that's going to make sure that you're going to get to your goal, whatever that might be. Now, of course, looking also at protein and fiber, those are going to then support that calorie goal, and they're kind of the next two really most important things. As far as protein is concerned, protein is going to help maintain that muscle mass. It's also going to help you stay full for longer. I can think about a few different areas where I kind of use the leverage of protein to kind of help me, whether it's stay in a calorie deficit or support that muscle mass. Eating it every 2 to 3 hours. So it's like I wake up first thing in the morning, try and have some protein, because I know, okay, if I have some protein, some of those food cravings and food thoughts are going to just be suppressed for a little while. That way I can focus on the work or focus on whatever task is at hand and move on with the rest of my day. I can then be like, cool, that 2 to 3 hours is up. I'm starting to get hungry again. Food noise is turning up a little bit. And now, I'm starting to get hungrier again. Great, another mouthful of protein, and I'm ready to go again for another 2 to 3 hours. And then the same thing can be applied with fiber as well, right? If you're choosing high fiber carbohydrate sources, quinoa, brown rice probably has like 1 extra gram of fiber than white rice, so it's not like that important, but I'm thinking like sweet potatoes, I'm thinking oats, I'm thinking, there you can kind of go down several different routes here, but right, if you have that extra fiber in there, you're going to be able to, just like that protein, kind of go every couple of hours without a ton of food cravings, food noise, and you're going to be able to focus on the task at hand. So if you focus on those 3 things, you're going to, your calories, your protein, your fiber, you're going to be able to get to your goals, whatever they might be. So as far as leveling up your nutrition, and the second section, I think those are the 3 main focus areas that if you do focus on those, it's going to take you a really long way. Okay. Now looking at that, like just kind of going down the steps here, right, when we're leveling up, I'm thinking like from a standpoint, right, we've gone through this idea of self-monitoring and becoming more self-aware. Okay, great. We have that piece, check that box. Then you're focusing on making sure you're staying within your calorie budget and hitting your protein goals and hitting your fiber goals. Great. Now we can kind of go down that next path. I do want to finish up, thinking about it now, going back to that fiber conversation. I didn't really kind of go into a ton of detail. The fiber goals, right, for different people. There are kind of 2 schools of thought. Generally recommended for individuals is about 28 grams, give or take, for females, 26 to 28 grams. And then roughly 35 to 38 grams for men. Another way you can look at this, for about every 1,000 calories that you eat, you want about 14 grams of fiber. Now, I could break this down even further and say about every meal, you should be shooting for like 3 to 6 grams of fiber. They can be higher. You don't really want it to be a whole lot lower, because then it's going to be really hard to get you that fiber goal, right? Thinking about it, like if you have 3 meals a day and you're only eating, call it, 2 grams of fiber at each meal, you're only at 6 grams for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, you've got a lot to make up, male or female, right? We have over 20 to 30 grams you still need to make up there. So by targeting, okay, I'm getting 7 grams of fiber with my breakfast because I'm eating some fruit, I'm eating some berries, some oats, and I have some, spinach and some onions and tomatoes and bell peppers in my omelet, right? And so you have, 7 grams that are coming in from breakfast. Then you do like a sandwich, a turkey sandwich on whole grain bread, with a side of, carrot sticks and celery sticks with hummus or something, right? So you're getting some fiber from the bread, you're getting some fiber from the lettuce and tomato you're putting on your sandwich, you're getting some fiber from the carrot sticks and celery sticks, and a little bit from the hummus as well. So, right, by having that, you get another 7 grams there. Then comes dinner and you do quinoa and some steamed vegetables. You're getting another 10 grams there, give or take, right? So you can kind of see like, okay, by doing that throughout the day, I'm getting these little kind of boluses or these like I don't know another word for that, but you're getting a good amount at each one of these meal times. You're going to rest assured that you're getting enough fiber throughout the day. Now, if you are increasing your fiber and you haven't done that before, I do encourage you kind of slowly increasing it, like, because, right, if your gut isn't used to taking in a bunch of fiber, it's going to be like, hey, well, what's going on here? And it might slow down some of those kind of processes, and it might make you a little backed up. So make sure you're drinking plenty of water and you're slowly increasing it, like maybe making this kind of a slow progress to this, which might look like, okay, for breakfast, I'm going to focus on fiber. Awesome. That's week 1. Week 2, you focus on fiber for lunch and breakfast. Week 3, you focus on fiber for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? So you kind of have that progression up to getting enough fiber in addition to, right, you're increasing your overall volume of fluid intake, i.e. making sure you're getting enough water. That's going to help you with that fiber and making sure that it doesn't cause any unwanted side effects, i.e. constipation, feeling backed up. It kind of almost feels like I've done it before where I haven't eaten enough fiber and then I go back to eating enough fiber and it's like, it feels like you have a rock in your gut and it just is not, and you're trying to digest like a solid rock. It's not fun. So I don't mean to scare you away from fiber. Definitely want to encourage you to continue consuming it, but definitely want to give you some fair warning there. Okay. Now that we went back to that piece, let's go into this last section as we're going down this path, right? You got self-monitoring, you're tracking your calories, you're tracking your workouts, you're tracking your sleep, you're tracking your progress. You're using these data points to make good decisions. Then you're focusing on the calories. You're making sure that you're staying within your calorie budget. You're hitting your protein goals and you're hitting your fiber goals, all of which are going to support each other, right? Then finally, we can say, actually, it could be almost like a pyramid here, right? And you kind of have the self-monitoring piece, you've got the calorie piece, you've got the protein and fiber piece. The next piece that I'd say is making good food choices, right? And making good food choices, at the end of the day, this means making sure that you're getting all the nutrients that you need. Now, I've gotten this back and forth on several different things where I've gotten it. People, there's a lot of like misconceptions around making sure that you're getting all the nutrients you need. What is a healthy diet? Like, I put up a video just a couple of weeks ago of the perfect diet, and man, did people have something to say about grains and eating grains. And I think that it stems from a lot of misconceptions. You listen to like Joe Rogan and he's always like, hey, don't eat pasta, cut out bread. Or you listen to, there's the guy who wrote Grain Brain, right? And it's like how bad grains are for you. It's like, there's so much around this idea. And I think you have like celiac disease and gluten intolerance, and like everybody claiming that. And right, it's kind of another excuse to cut out carbs. Going on a little bit of a tangent here, but at the end of the day, when we look at what a healthy diet is, it really just means, are you getting all the nutrients that you need, right? Are you getting all the fiber that you need? Are you getting all the protein that you need? Are you getting all the vitamins and minerals, calcium, your magnesium, your zinc, your selenium? Like, are you getting all the minerals that you need? Are you getting all the vitamins that you need? And the way that we know how to do that, there's kind of two areas, right? It's like you can supplement, right? You can take a multivitamin, which has 100% or even 1,000% of some of these nutrients. But how much are you really absorbing from these? Like, is there really that much research around them? Probably not, right? Like, it's like you're probably just making your pee really expensive is the way I like to put it. So that's kind of the one school of thought, is like, you could supplement with these things. You can definitely take artificial sources of them, or you can eat the food groups, right? Foods that contain these nutrients. That's why this kind of concept is around, is right, by eating low-fat dairy, by eating lean proteins, by eating whole grains, by eating fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, and beans and legumes, you're going to rest assured knowing that you're getting all the nutritional needs that you need, right? So by eating the food groups, in addition to the things we talked about before, you're going to make sure that you're getting all the possible nutrition that you need. Now, I'm not going to say that you have to eat all the food groups. I'm not going to say that you might be lactose intolerant and you just really have a hard time digesting dairy, and that is the case for some people. Or you might, find that eating gluten does cause some inflammation for you and you feel the digestive issues. But I want to have some pause for a moment and think about this idea of like, okay, if I'm going to like cut out a food, or if I'm going to limit something, like how else am I going to get that in my diet, right? So if I'm going to cut out dairy because I'm quote unquote lactose intolerant, first, like, where are you getting your lactose from? Yeah, if you're eating pizza and you feel like shit after you eat pizza, that might, be good cause for you to say, hey, yeah, that's not a great food for me to eat. But to cut out a whole food group because of that, I don't think that's fair, right? I'd rather, right, making sure that, okay, what happens when I eat like low fat Greek yogurt? What happens when I have, when I put low fat milk with my oats, right? What happens when I put low fat cheese on a dish that I'm having? Does that cause the same thing? Okay, maybe it isn't just the dairy that's causing this, but maybe it's the poor food choice overall that's causing this. So that's what I want to like have a pause section for and be like, okay, yes, while I do understand like there are going to be things that are going to, for some, that are just not going to be super easily digestible, and it might be better off removing that food group from your diet, but just to do it based on whatever you heard something on social media is just not the best idea. So rather, what I would rather have you do is focus on eating the food groups, specifically making sure that you're focusing on lean proteins, whole grains, low-fat dairy, fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, and seeing and beans and legumes, and seeing how you feel on that, right? It's not that you're going to be like including super highly processed foods, i.e. pizza, or I don't mean to be, I love pizza. I'm not beating pizza up. I'm just using it as an example here. So, and then like making sure that, okay, what happens when I focus on eating these kind of whole, minimally processed foods, and like, how do I feel? How does my gut feel? How does my performance at work feel? And so looking at those pieces and being able to include those without those other restriction ideas, right, of removing food groups overall. Okay, so looking at these three concepts, we have self-monitoring, bringing self-awareness, focusing on calories, protein, and fiber, and finally making sure that you're eating the food groups. That's what we're going to focus on for leveling up our nutrition for 2025. I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode of the Nutrition with Noah show, and I'll bring you guys another episode in about a week. So next Thursday, keep an eye out for it, okay? Talk soon.